Today on Sports Central, we're going to be going over our XFL Week 2 game predictions for the season, and also we're going to be going over a bit of analysis on each one of these teams and each one of these games as we head towards week number 2. Starting off with the New York Guardians and the DC Defenders. Of course, both these teams won last week. The Guardians were able to beat the Tampa Bay Vipers 23-3. They easily controlled that game. Meanwhile, the DC Defenders beat up the Seattle Dragons 31-19. And let me remind you, that game was actually really close for the majority of the game, except the Defenders towards the end began to pull away. So overall, for both these teams, two really good wins, no doubt. I mean, the Seattle Dragons are no pushover team from what we looked at in the offseason. And looking at the players that the Seattle Dragons have, certainly that was not an easy game to win. Nonetheless, for both these teams, I think the DC Defenders are overall the more talented team. They've got a lot more potential. Of course, Cardale Jones is their quarterback, and we all know how great he can be. But nonetheless, I've got the Defenders winning this one by 11, 24-13. The Defenders will move on to 2-0. Meanwhile, the Guardians will take their first loss. Second game of the week is going to be the Tampa Bay Vipers against the Seattle Dragons. This time we got two 0-1 teams. And of course, the Vipers' offense really could not do anything last week. They only were able to put up 3 points. But nonetheless, for the Seattle Dragons, once again, they were really able to keep up with the Defenders last week very well, in which obviously the Seattle Dragons lost to the Defenders 31-19. But nonetheless, the Vipers, once again, they weren't able to do hardly anything. 3-23, they lost that game against the Guardians. But nonetheless, this should be an interesting game. I've got it, with it being in Seattle, I think that gives the Dragons an advantage here. And I think that the Dragons get their first win before the Vipers do. Dragons get the win here 20-12. Third game in your first Sunday game of week number 2 is going to be the Dallas Renegades and the Los Angeles Wildcats. And of course, the Renegades losing last week was certainly the biggest surprise for me. I thought the Renegades going into this season were likely the favorite for me to go on to win the championship. They've just got so much talent on that team with Landry Jones and all those players. And of course, Landry Jones did not play in week number 1. So if he does play in week number 2, I'd expect the Renegades to easily win, possibly even more than the margin that I'm putting here as 24-19. But nonetheless, if Landry Jones doesn't play, this could be a toss-up matchup. It could go either way, no doubt about it. With the Wildcats being at home, that could easily help them too. But nonetheless, the Renegades have more talent in the end. They're going to get the win over the Wildcats here, 24-19. The Wildcats overall, I mean, they're coming off of a really bad loss against the Roughnecks on the road, 17-37. So coming off of that game, it's already a little bit concerning for me. But nonetheless, I do expect the Renegades to win this game. In your fourth and final game of week number 2 is going to be the St. Louis Battlehawks and the Houston Roughnecks. Of course, the Roughnecks, in my rankings for week number 2, which I'll tag the video here, which were my rankings for week number 2, I had the Roughnecks at number 1. And of course, coming off of their crazy great win against the Wildcats 37-17, their quarterback, we've seen a lot of potential in him as well. But nonetheless, I've got the Roughnecks winning this against the Battlehawks 27-16. I think St. Louis also has a pretty great team. I mean, Jordan Tamu, he really played well last week too, put up some really impressive stats. But nonetheless, I think the Roughnecks in the end get the win here with it being at home as well. I think that helps them as well, which that gives them the win once again, 27-16. Nonetheless, that wraps up this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below on these week 2 games. Also, let me know your score predictions, your game predictions, all that in the comments below as well. Thank you guys all for watching. Thanks for stopping by. If you like what you see here and you want to see more, be sure to subscribe. Thank you guys all for watching though once again, and stay tuned for more from All Sports Central.